Greetings everybody, Redbeard here for the October 12th, 2016 edition of the Midweek Update. I'm very pleased to be able to report that not a single story that we're going to be including this week revolves around a wrestler having been stabbed. Number 5 story of the week is that it's been announced that Sasha and Charlotte will be facing each other for the WWE Raw Women's Championship at Hell in a Cell in Hell in a Cell. This is a pretty mind-numbing, mind-blowing, whatever you want to use as an adjective term there to describe this thing. It just really caught me off guard when they decided to go forward with this, because it's been something that's been talked about for a while. It's been rumored that they might be interested in having an actual Hell in a Cell match involving two of the women on the roster, but now it's actually happening. It's been confirmed. This is a real big escalation of the feud between Sasha and Charlotte, and that's one of the things that's going to make this or break this, in my opinion, because they've gotten to a point with this feud where they've produced these fantastic matches. Every time they get in the ring now, it's either a 4 or 5-star match, hands down. They just have that much ability and that much chemistry with one another. It's been brilliant to watch as the feud has developed. Of course, they've changed hands with the title here a couple of different times, but it's really been engrossing. It's been fantastic television, and this is really going to be it has to be the capstone of the feud, in my opinion, because there's nowhere else they can really go above and beyond Hell in a Cell match. And to that end, they're not going to be able to just say, okay, we had a Hell in a Cell match. They're going to have to make full use of the cage as a gimmick itself, because otherwise people will say, okay, well, they just did that just to do it. And that would put a real stain, I think, on the entire thing, possibly even set back the Women's Revolution. So I'm hoping that this comes off and does well for the two of them and for the division as a whole. It's definitely going to be something that people have never seen before. It has a potential to be a just crazy thing if they're able to go in there and have a, pardon my saying so, but balls out type of match. No balls in the match, unfortunately, but it's just one of those things to where they've been sort of backed into a corner with the booking, so they've got to go all out, got to do everything they can, and hopefully they'll be able to. Hopefully they get a lot of freedom to work with one another in this scenario, and hopefully it comes off great. I have a feeling it will. I certainly hope it does anyway. Number 4 story of the week is that Goldberg is returning to WWE. This has been something that there have been rampant rumors about ever since the announcement came that WWE 2K17 was about to be released back a couple of months ago. If you'll recall, there was this video vignette, whatever you want to call it, that featured a hatch that suddenly was going to be opened, and people were thinking, okay, well, this is something to do with the debut of a new character possibly on WWE programming or something else new along those lines, and it winds up being that Goldberg has been in the hatch the whole time, and it explodes, and he walks out, then he gets put in the back of a police car, and he's escorted to Suplex City. So yeah, it's been something that has been talked about for a while, but now we have confirmation that Goldberg will in fact be returning to Raw next week to answer a challenge that was put forth this week by Paul Heyman. Of course, we're leading to a match, possible feud with Brock Lesnar. This is a thing that could go south real quick, in my opinion. Of course, the two of them have history. They had a match at WrestleMania years ago. To really put it quite succinctly, it was not a good match. You had two guys who were at the real, we'll say, apex of their careers in terms of where they were with the freedoms that they thought they had, and it was just two guys who weren't able to work together. They had no chemistry, no charisma, nothing at all, and the match reflected that completely, because it was very forgettable and it was very unfortunate in a lot of ways, because it could have been great, could have been fantastic, but it was nothing, in my opinion. So now they're trying to rekindle that by way of promotion for WWE 2K17 video game, and it might be something here, but it's kind of going to depend, in my opinion, on where Goldberg is. We know that Lesnar is still very much an athlete. He's still very much able to compete and to perform at a high level. Goldberg hasn't been seen or heard from in years. Whether or not he's even able to get between the ropes right now, nobody knows. It's going to be interesting to see. I think that there'll be a pretty I'll go ahead and say split response between the fan base for these two guys, because you'll have the old codgers like myself who will remember Goldberg and possibly get in his corner if he looks like he's a contender, and then everybody else is going to be looking at Lesnar like he's going to eat this old guy alive. Yeah. It just depends a lot on the aesthetic, unfortunately, because of the fact he's a part-timer. Of course, Goldberg won't have to subscribe to the wellness policy, so it's just one of those things where he can maybe juice up a little bit and make himself look like he used to, but who knows at this point in time. So there's a possibility that this is just going to be a blow-off type of thing. There's also the possibility that this leads to a feud that might culminate around Survivor Series. If they really push it, it goes as far as the Royal Rumble into next year. So we'll just have to wait and see. But definitely going to be interesting to see where it goes now that Goldberg, just had to do that, is back in the fold with WWE. Number 3 story of the week is, could Matt Hardy be set to buy TNA Wrestling? Sure he could. I could be set to go buy a cheeseburger. Yeah. This is a story that has really come out of all the randomness and craziness that's been revolving around the potential sale of TNA Wrestling. It's been another week now. We still don't have any type of news to report as to who could potentially be lining up to buy TNA Wrestling. Of course, there were rumors last week that WWE was going to be buying the tape library, and that Billy Corgan that is, was going to be buying the actual company itself and rebranding it. That seems to kind of have gone nowhere. But now you have these statements that have come from Matt Hardy as to him expressing an interest in buying the company. Could he potentially be serious about this? That's the big question. Sure, he could be. I could be serious about wanting to go buy a Lamborghini if I really wanted to do something stupid. But yeah, there's a possibility he could. People have theorized, well, does he have enough money to actually go forward with this? I'm sure he does. This is a situation where Matt has lived a pretty modest life. He has his home and whatnot, but not a particularly huge spender in terms of things. So it's possible he could have squirreled enough money away to do something like this. Because God knows he was with WWE forever. They enjoyed massive sales of merchandise and whatnot. He's been everywhere since then, all over the world. And they, of course, didn't call him Big Money Matt for nothing there for a while. So we'll have to see if it is actually anything serious. But, it's kind of we're thinking right now it's kind of a joke to go along with the broken Matt and the broken Hardy storyline. Just because it's one more thing for them to continue getting their name into the world of wrestling right now, and into the news, and to keep things kind of hot and attractive. So we don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But it would be interesting to actually get some type of clarity on where TNA sits as far as the sale is concerned and where that company is going to be going forward, because we understand that they've taken TV up through the end of the year. A lot of interesting things happening there apparently, but beyond that, no idea where it's going. So we'll just have to wait and see. Number 2 story of the week is our reaction to WWE's No Mercy pay-per-view. This was a good show, but it was a good show because of the fact that there were 2 matches on the card that were really top-notch, and then a whole bunch of matches that were mostly filler, plus a main event that probably shouldn't have really even been a main event, if you want to call it that. It was more or less just a match that went on last. So let's go ahead and take a look at things here. It started the show with the triple threat match there for the WWE World title. It was a fantastic match. The scheduling of this was because of the fact that you're looking at a show that started at 8 p.m. on a night when you had an NFL game plus a presidential debate happening on the same couple of hours when the show was going on. So they tried to get this in there before the other items of interest, so people weren't tuning out as soon as they had an opportunity to do so. The match itself was perfect as far as the booking. You had 3 guys in there who were really going all out. Styles continues to impress me to no end. Cena, when you put him in a situation like this, really excels because the fact that he's with 2 other guys who are really performing at a high level forces him to do the same. Ambrose continues to be just that crazy, wild-eyed guy that you don't see very often in wrestling anymore, but he's doing a great job with it. and just adding a lot to the feud in his own unique way. So tremendous match there. Finish, some people thought was a little bit weak there with the sudden introduction of the chair, but whatever. Great match regardless, in my opinion. The other match that was worthy of note on the card, of course, was the Intercontinental title match. That was between Miz, who was the champion at that point in time, and Dolph Ziggler. A lot of people going into this thought this was Ziggler's last match. This was going to be the end for him. Nope, still going strong. And so is this feud. This is a feud that could continue for months and months and months on end, possibly. Especially now that Ziggler has the title. Tremendous match, a lot of things included. Possibly one of these things where you can say it was overbooked, but at the same time, it was a match that had a lot of stuff behind it, because here again, we had been led to believe that there was a possibility this would be legitimately Ziggler's last go-round with WWE. But, they involved the Spirit Squad. You had Maurice there with the pepper spray or whatever it was there, and it still worked. It still was a lot of fun to watch. Then kudos to those two guys for making a tremendous feud out of what they've had to work with here. But everything in between those two matches on the card was mostly filler. You really had a void in there because of the fact that Becky Lynch is injured. The lack of a women's title match was really noticeable. I think a lot of people were looking forward to seeing her and Alexa Bliss go at it. You had instead Naomi and Alexa Bliss. Not a whole lot there. They put Naomi over, which kind of sends Alexa down the pole in terms of where she's looked at with the hierarchy of the women's rankings. But the other matches that were in there just were mostly filler. Nothing really to write home about. And then we won't call it the main event, but we'll call it the last match of the night, was Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton. You had the return of Luke Harper sort of being the biggest thing to come out of this. I'm a fan of Harper. He's a great big man. But was that really anything to write home about there either? Not really. And subsequently on SmackDown this past week, you have sort of a continuation of the feud in the form of a tag match where Kane and Orton versus Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper takes place. And the finish of that is that suddenly Kane disappears. Okay, where are we going with this now? Is Kane going to be gone for a while? Is he going to show up as part of the Wyatt family? What are they doing here? So we'll have to wait and see there. But as far as No Mercy is concerned, good show for those two matches, then nothing really else. That's kind of iffy to tell people you should watch a show specifically because of two matches, but it's still, not bad. Nothing really poor or lack of, lack of watchability to make up a word. But those two matches definitely worth your time and worth going out of the way to see. The rest of the show, just fast forward your way through and get on with your life. And the number one story of the week is the war of words that started to erupt over Paige's most recent suspension. And yes, this is a new suspension, a 60-day suspension. This is, of course, the second tier of punishment that comes in with WWE's wellness policy, to where an individual has gone above and beyond a single violation to where they're now on step 2 of the punishment program. She's out for 60 days now. And people are starting to wonder a whole lot about what this is actually entailing as far as her behind-the-scenes efforts to possibly get out of her contract by way of using the wellness policy against WWE. Of course, you have two sides of that token. One is that she's apparently using something to violate the policy, which of course adds speculation to what her character is. But then on the other side of the coin, you have all these muddy waters that have happened because of the fact that you've got talent saying, well, I've got a prescription for this, but I got a wellness policy strike regardless. And that's what's happened this time, because she's saying that this is a prescription. This is a substance that I had a doctor's note for. It's related to a legitimate neck injury, but they knocked me for it anyway. And then you have the war of words that heats up when WWE responds to that sort of commentary by saying, no, you got suspended for having an illegal substance in your system. It's kind of implying that this was a drug of some type. What they won't say, but it's a little bit funny to me that you talk about client privilege and patient privacy laws and whatnot, It's just weird that they would go so far as to say she had an illegal substance in her system, and then, of course, they can't say what it is, but they can say she had an illegal substance. It's just weird. The whole scenario is turning into a big circus. It's a soap opera that's probably better than anything that they've had on Total Divas in a long time, but this really feels like something that would be appropriate for that show. And then, of course, amongst all this, you have the continuation of the Alberto Del Rio situation, to where he's feeding the fire with this matter, and then he's also talking about the stabbing incident and trying to clarify that and get people on his side. Just a crazy thing, and we're going to continue to watch it, of course, to see where it breaks down, but it could be that this is her effort to try and get out of her contract. I think it's a big sign of immaturity personally, because sure, there may be some difficulty behind the scenes, but is it really worth tarnishing your image and discrediting yourself to this degree? I don't think so. But on a more positive note, something we have to look forward to is the fact that there is a whole bunch of wrestling happening this weekend. Between our little 3-state coverage area, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, there are, by my count, at least 18 shows happening this weekend. 18. You heard that right. I can go ahead and say it. If you don't have an opportunity to get out to a show this weekend, you probably are just doing yourself a disservice by staying home. And sure, if you've got hurricane stuff to clean up from, that's one thing. But if you are able-bodied and you are able to get out to a show this weekend, you have every reason to do so, because there is stuff happening everywhere. So let's go ahead and roll those posters and let you know what's happening in this part of the world. Be back in a few minutes to wrap up the show. There you have it, our rundown of the events that are coming your way this weekend. Do want to point out two in particular there that are coming up. We've got an event in Elizabethtown, North Carolina, sponsored by the Operation Safe Foundation. That's Wrestling for a Cause 2. That is a special event in conjunction with some breast cancer awareness programs. And also we have the return of Mucha Lucha Atlanta happening over in Norcross, Georgia on Sunday. They've got Pentagon Jr., Phoenix, a number of other stars from Lucha Underground, all going to be there on the show. The main event is a match for the Mucha Lucha Atlanta title between Pentagon Jr. and Mr. 450. That'd be a great thing to see. Unfortunately, I'm a little gun-shy about going to Atlanta. If you've seen the Rasslin or Redbeard episode regarding our last trip over to Georgia, you'll know why. But at any rate, if you're a wrestler, a promoter, or in some way involved with a wrestling promotion, and you didn't see your poster in that part of the show, it's because we didn't know about it. We do our best to peruse social media to stay abreast of what's happening in this part of the world, but we do miss things. That said, if you would send us your material by way of YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, email, any of the available avenues that we have, we'd be glad to get it out there for you, because that's a big part of what we do here on the Rasslin with Redbeard program, is to promote the local talent and events in this part of the world. Do appreciate you guys tuning in. If you have not already, please consider subscribing to the channel. That way you'll be the first to know when we've posted something new, like a midweek update, a new episode of Rasslin with Redbeard, or match videos, highlights, and clips. Appreciate you guys tuning in. See you next week.